So it's recording now.
Oh, right on.
And what you see in there, that's what will.
Good.
It was built before that. Yeah.
Push the on talk? No, just push it. You see the light is on?
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, money? Another guy.
Oh, they're in again.
I had to take courses this time though. It was like real work.
Study is hard.
It really wasn't. Lori comes
Grab one of them. Grab one of them ones.
Yeah, I just thought this was going to get it.
I'll sit here.
And I'll open the door. Yeah, yeah.
Why?
Fine. There you go.
Is that your shirt from hockey? You went to fight? That's right. Madison's got a blue one that says no like too. Probably not.
The only thing we got.
What they got too. Yeah, which one's on your text? Probably could have fun. I just got made busy with something else.
Quite a while when it was really bad. Oh, wow, they were seeing. It's overcast. Shower. One day we had a couple
Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started now. So thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank the town and the council for letting us hold this forum here. I'd also like to thank South Peace News and 93.5 Prairie FM for advertising this event. Barry Shirkawi for arranging this forum on behalf of the High Prairie and Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Tracy Shirkawi. I'm the president of the Chamber, and I'd like to thank all of you for your interest in your town and running for council. We have Jeff Berger, Brian Gilroy, Arlen Courtley, and James Wakel. So we are gonna have them come up. We're gonna give them 4 minutes each to introduce themselves. We'll give 2 minutes for questions. 30-second warning will be given to you with a green flag, and then a red flag when you're done.
No checkered flag?
And if you ignore the flags, we will take away your microphone. So, we'll begin. We'll start. Start with you. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Can everybody hear me with that thing? All right. My name is James Wakel. I've lived in town for 20 years, and I've served on council before. I was here for 12 years on council, and I would like to come back to council. I believe I have a great deal to offer still to the town. I have obviously 12 years of experience, so I'm aware of the way things are run and the way things can run, and hopefully we can continue to make things run well. Currently, I know that we have a great relationship with our friends next door, the former MD, the county now of Big Lakes. I would like to see that continue, as everybody would obviously, and I would also like to hopefully strengthen our relationship with our First Nation and Métis neighbors as well. I believe that if we work together with all of our neighbors, that we can make the entire area grow and thrive. There's still a great deal of potential here. Despite the economic downturn that the world has seen, I think that we are in a very unique situation where we are, and I think that we can still take advantage of that situation and our location. A little bit about me, I guess. Like I said, I've been here for 20 years, and I've got 2 kids that go to school here, and I'm very proud of this town, and I'm proud of the fact that I can call High Prairie home. I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else, and I'm glad that my kids are happy to be here as well. The amount of potential here has always blown me away. When I first came to town, I said that this is the place to be for the next 20 years. It's 20 years later, I still believe that. I still think that for the next 20 years, the potential here will grow. We have many businesses in town that, I should say, companies that have invested in our town that have yet to build. Husky comes to mind, and Loblaws also comes to mind. We also have on the east side, Peavine Estates has got a great deal of property, and I would like to see us working together with those companies and with those neighbors that we have to develop those properties. And if that means that we have to sit down with the CAOs of all of those companies and associations and settlements and First Nations to make that happen, I think you just make that happen. To find out, okay, you invested in our town, you haven't done anything yet, how come? What can we do to make it attractive to you to continue with the plans that you had started? Obviously, they saw something here, and whether they're scared by the world economy or the local economy, I think that we can overcome that just by saying, getting them right into the guts of it and saying, this is what we have here. We have tremendous facilities available for people. We have a pool that's second to none. We've got an arena that is amazing, and we have a second ice surface as well. We have a performing arts studio. We have all of the hunting and fishing in the area that you could ever want. We have walking trails in town, a great library, an amazing museum, and my favorite, snow removal that is second to none in Alberta. So that's what I have prepared. Thank you very much.
James, this mic is for me, I guess. Good evening, everybody. My name's Arlen Quartley. For those that don't know me, I've been living in this community for, well, since I was knee-high, I guess. Probably grade 7 we moved here, and that's in 79. We moved up from southern Alberta to call this community our home, which we did, and very proud of it. We've raised myself and my wife, who have been married coming on 27 years this summer, which is amazing. Can't believe she put up with me that long, but I'm just saying. With that, I bring commitment. I know what commitment is, and I know what compromise is. And with that, we've raised 3 children who are now adult. So again, I know compromise, I know commitment, I know when to say yes, and I know when to say no. Especially in trying times like we're in right now, a lot of times you have to say no. But I'm looking to the positive side of this. Our community and our town and our business community, now is some trying times, and we need to look forward and look positive, look past what we're going through at the moment, and look to the future. Easy to say, hard to do, I know, but that's one thing we can do as a group, and get through this trying times with the economy. A few things that I know myself. I've also come through a lot of the sports through our area. I've played, coached, managed, and a fan. I've been all aspects of it. I know it's a big part of our community. We have some beautiful facilities, and that is one of the things that I bring to the table. Maybe some different ideas as far as some utilization of the facilities we have, to better usage for our general public, and I mean as far as children and adults. So there's some ideas there, willing to look at. I mean, it's something that we can ask and put forward to the public. I'm all for making the decisions that better the community. So. So that's as far as the business side of it. I have an invested interest in this community. We own a business that is in the oil field, so I know firsthand the stress that's being put forward right now from our economy. But I'm not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going to try to get through it and continue on. As far as that goes, I've got some experience backing me. We've been in multiple businesses before. We've been in businesses that were involved with agriculture. We've been in businesses that have been involved with retail. So we know the communication with the public. So that myself, I bring that to the table. So again, thank you very much for coming tonight, and hopefully we can answer some questions. Thank you.
Anyone who knows ministers knows that if we talk off the cuff, you miss your meals. And so I've had to write things down here. I just want to share more of a vision. On my part, to let you know, outside of being a minister and a hospital chaplain for over 20 years, I've an accounting background for over 30 years. I've worked in tsunami relief in Japan, helping coordinate there. I've worked for multinationals. I've worked for a wide variety of jobs, probably ever since I was a teenager. So I've done everything from high exec down to cleaning streets, in a sense. But here's my vision. I just want to thank you, for example, for this opportunity to meet my fellow candidates. I'm very impressed with them, actually, and I'm glad to have been in the crew here of the picture. Though we didn't have boxing gloves, it would have been nice for that picture, but it's nice to meet such high-quality candidates you have here. So I think you're going to be blessed regardless of which two you choose. I don't think there's one that's going to be a bad one among us. As a newcomer to High Prairie, and I've only been here since about September 2014, I would be dishonest if I claim to have all the answers, or to suggest that I knew everything there was about governing this town. I believe that the role of a town councillor is a very challenging one. To be a councillor in this town means that you need to wear a variety of hats. It means listening to the people of the town and not just a select group. It means making sound decisions, balancing the current needs that we're going through with these economic struggles, while keeping in mind the future vision for High Prairie. Okay, and so I've crafted my priorities that I'm going to share with you based upon many discussions with a wide variety of people from your town. I believe the number one priority needs to be sustainable employment. I'd like to see a development of another long-term care facility that would embrace the graduates of Northern Lakes College, as well as employ a number of local citizens who are in need of employment in the various departments that they qualify for. The ideal situation would be a joint effort of the County of Big Lakes, local First Nations and Métis groups, and the town of High Prairie. The spin-off industries would be a boost to the local economy, and one scenario would be that a wing of the facility would be dedicated to First Nations and Métis, who would also have qualified First Nation medical personnel to deal with them themselves in their own language. I could say this because in Ontario, for example, there is a place called Yihong, and it's a place where it's a Chinese facility with both Mandarin and Cantonese, and a lot of the staff who work there are Mandarin and Cantonese to help ease the stress on the people moving from their home into that facility. And I think that if we are going to encourage people to go to Northern Lakes College, we should employ them here. If we're going to bring people up here, well, in a sense, I'd rather have the people who are up here stay up here and then add to it, because it's easier to get people who are up here to stay than it is to bring people up here, as recruiters have probably told you. Another economic possibility would be to attract another grocer, as an amazing amount of money, of High Prairie money that is being spent in Slave Lake and other areas. A contract could be signed that provides guarantees that will be mutually beneficial to both the retailer and the town. And I'll do it very quickly. The other thing is that I would like to see something like Ontario, where basically the teens are encouraged to do volunteer hours to graduate, which would help the volunteerism in this town as well. So because I'm going to cut off in a minute, I will say that if there's anything else you want to hear about, you'll have to hear about later, so that I don't get the red flag. Thanks for listening.
Well, I don't know. That's when I started to practice my speech here, I got down to about there, and these people managed to get so much in their conversation there. I don't know where I'm going to be here. My name is Jeff Berger. I'm running for town council. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Tracy and Barry Shikawi, and the town for giving us this facility, and thank all you people for coming out here. It's quite an honor to actually just be here, and I've been here before. I've got almost 3 terms as a town councillor. My first one was in 1998. I'm a past president of the High Prairie Chamber of Commerce. I've lived in this community since 1963, I believe. I was a founding member of the High Prairie Lions Club. I was a founding member of the Golden Walleye Classic in 1989. And back in the mid-'80s, in the old days, we were beating our head in this community about what we could do to develop tourism. And myself and another fellow started running little fishing derbies up and down the lake, and eventually we actually ran a real tournament in 1989, and we built that into the largest walleye tournament in the world. And I'm glad to see that it's still continuing 25 years later. I believe that no matter what size of community we are in, we can make a difference. It just takes hard work and some imagination, and you gotta follow through with what you say. It's easy to talk about the things that you would like to do. It's easy to talk about the things, you know, that you'd like to see, but I'm a person that believes in actually following through and actually doing what I say I'm going to do. I just don't talk about it. The issues that we face are listed in my thing here. I really do want to continue the war on taxes in our community. I think taxes are a burden. We need to make our businesses competitive. We need to make our housing affordable, and taxes is one place to start. And I don't like seeing us as the highest taxed community in Alberta, and the previous council is working down to push those down, and I want to see that continue. We have to continue to work well with our neighboring governments, of course, County of Big Lakes. People seem to think, that the center of the universe right here is High Prairie. It isn't. Our big government is the County of Big Lakes. And just as big together are our First Nations and Métis settlements. We have to partner with these people if we want to move our community forward. There's no question at all about that. I believe in the community pillars: education, recreation, making our community safe to live in. I believe in quality health care, and I believe in providing opportunities, not just for our young people, but for everybody, and for new people that want to come to our community. I think this is very important. As a town councillor in this town, we don't directly control many of these things, but we can influence them. And it's important, that a councillor uses that trust that the community has given them to try to make improvements in our community as much as possible, looking after our people, looking after our senior citizens, looking after our young people, providing opportunities for them. There's many things that we can do, but you have to work at it and you have to follow through with it. Voting day is February 1st. If I'm elected, I will bring to this office integrity. I will be transparent. I am experienced. I'm independent. I'm driven by policy, not by micromanagement. I'm always working for better government, and I will listen to your concerns. Thank you.
So before we continue, there is some cards on the table at the front that if you want to write a question down, I will collect them in a bit, and we'll go through those. So first, I'm not loud enough? Okay. First question, what have you done to prepare yourself for being a councillor if elected?
Well, obviously, I've had the experience of the previous terms that I served on council. Kept up with the current council, talking to different councillors about some of the things that are going on, and talking to administration here as well, just to keep generally abreast as to the things that are going on right now. Yeah, that's what I've done.
What have I prepared? How have I prepared? Well, I guess watching and learning the town politics over the last 20, 30 years. And lately just going online. It's a great tool. Going through all the town website, talking to some of the other councillors, and just physically preparing. Utilizing my decision making ability to decide to run. That's good.
Well, you could say in a sense, I've been preparing since we got here because I love investing in the community, especially lately, and even as early or late as today. I have talked to many people in individual businesses as well as parents at HPE, which both my children go to, and asked them things such as, what are you most proud about High Prairie, and what would your dreams be for this town? What would you like to see? And so I've been listening to people from all walks of life, all faiths, And it's been very interesting hearing what they have accomplished because having lived across Canada and seen a number of different governments and seen a number of different projects, it's always nice to see a passionate people who really believe in this town and desperately want to see this town to thrive, not just survive, but thrive.
Do I have to push that button to make it work? How's that? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, how do you ask a 67-year-old person, how did you prepare yourself for whatever you're doing? It's like, that's kind of a loaded question. But I think, that just my business experience, I've been in business for 40 years. Actually, I've been in business since I was 14 years old, selling lemonade and hauling newspapers. So that's even longer than that, over 50 years. I've been on town council. I've been involved in many community organizations. I like talking to people, and I like to be involved. I like learning from not only the things that I've been successful at, but from my mistakes. And I wasn't perfect when I was on town council before. I wasn't perfect in many of the organizations, but I learned a lot, and I think it continues to be a learning experience. Lifelong learning is really something, and I believe in that, and I think it's continues to make me a better person.
So these are two questions are tied together. Are you aware of any issues council has recently dealt with? How did you become aware of them, and what would you do differently?
Want to start with me this time?
Sure, you can start.
I'm going back and forth, or
Yep.
whatever. Well, the town manager was a mistake. There's no question at all about that. I mean, the fellow didn't know what he was doing. It was in over his head. It's amazing that it took as long as it did to get rid of him, and the expense, the amount of money that we had to pay to get rid of him. That's an issue, and there's other ones, that there are so many issues in our community that I couldn't go on and on and on. Like the price of gas. We're sitting here happy that we're at 89 cents right now. And on the news last night, it's 64 cents in Edmonton. What the heck is wrong with us? Why do we put up with this? I don't know how much town council can bring to bear on that, but we've put up with this for 25 years. The only nice thing about that is that a couple of weeks ago, Slave Lake, Whitecourt, Fox Creek, and Valley View, we were all paying the same price, which is kind of unusual, but I'm out of time.
Well, if I told you where I learned most about it, you'd think it was a shameless plug, but I actually read the newspaper. And I talked to Chris because contributing to the newspaper, I quite often just talk about what's happening because that's part of getting to know your community. One of the things I found very interesting is we all talk about our community being the highest taxed one. And the one thing that I'm noticing is, for example, you have the Heart River controversy, where the province is going to get rid of the grants in lieu of property taxes, which would cost the town about $98,000 in taxes. And, I look at some of these things and say, how can we then, if we're not going to succeed in this, and I don't know if we will or not, how can then we replace it properly? So I'm not quite sure. I always look for other activities, because if the whole thing is how do you get your taxes down, the one thing is revenue for the town is what determines really where the taxes go. And if we can't get the taxes or the revenue up in the town, then we have to put it into taxes, and I don't agree with that. And so that would probably be what I'm looking at, is something such as that.
Well, there's like Jeff said, there's the history of issues and problems going on, but you know, as we go as a community, as we go as a council, whether elected or not, we still have to carry on and make decisions that's right at the time. With the information you have, and that's it's a tough road. But taxes and business taxes are some of the main things that have been obvious to me. You know, and as far as you know, everybody's talking about incentives and bringing people in, but you know, that's one thing that I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, or maybe it has. I might be misinformed, but there should be some tax incentives as far as bringing in new businesses, as well as tax breaks for the businesses that are already here that are struggling. You know, it's we're all in the same boat, like I've said before. So that's one of the things. You know, and that's where you get that from, and where you get that information from is usually right from a counselor that's involved, or the business person that's in the struggle that you're talking to. The paper, yeah. Every once in a while, yes, I do read it, Jeff. Still a good read. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, like everybody else, I read the paper. I don't always get mad right after page 1. But I read the paper, listen to the radio for the news, and of course there's the YouTube thing that the council's been doing, so you can keep it up with what they're dealing with. I know that the current council has put in place a lot more policies to deal with things. They're not flying by the seat of their pants quite so much as has been done in the past. So they put a policy in place just to absolutely deal with it. It's like, no, this is the policy and that's the way it is. I think the example that I saw just yesterday at the front of the paper was the golf course was looking for a grant, and they missed the grant deadline, so now they have to, you know, they have to play by the same rules. There's none of these exceptions happening. So strong policies will help guide any council to success.
Just to be fair, we'll start with you again.
What's fair about that?
Oh, now you're just making us like musical chairs.
Fire away.
Oh, sure, okay. How do you envision industrial development in the west end of High Prairie?
Okay.
How do I envision it? I envision it huge. Lots of growth. I mean, in the right, you know, the right dream is that it's expanding all borders. Is that going to happen immediately? Well, it's happening as we speak, slowly. But to speed that up, our economy is going to have to turn around. Where do you want it to expand, and how it occurs? Or, you know, you have to entice people to come. And that's where, like I said, I'm hitting on the taxing again. I think there's maybe some incentives to bring companies into play, or into our area. Then that's the only way that it'll happen. We're in a tough situation here right immediately, because we're as far as industrial, usually it's driven by oil field, it's driven by forestry, it's driven by lots of different driving forces. And right now, the oil field in general is like everybody knows, it's down. Thank goodness the forestry is still going on. But as a vision, I see it very, you know, in a 5-year window, a 10-year window, I see it full. Thank you.
It's amazing with the overall global economy the way it is, and I'm trying not to fulfill the prophecy of Jeff's column about dishonest politicians, but personally, I think that I'd have to hear more see the vision of the council itself. For me to say all these things without looking at the stakeholders and what they see as being valuable and talking to the people themselves in the communities. I mean, I could see things like the East End, which is near the hospital, the new hospital, being a great place for that seniors residence I was talking about, and that would attract more. But the West End, I think you'd have to talk to people like West Fraser that's, you know, building on, and others that really would have more imagination as to what can be done. I think the sky's the limit, but you have to have people on board and supporting you through it. And I hope I'm right with the east and right, because quite often I have to use my GPS.
Well, the West End, there's a couple of properties over on the West End that are currently owned by companies. Husky owns a big chunk of property over there, and Loblaws owns a big chunk of property over there. That's where I would like to start, with those two, and see what we can do to entice them to build the vision that they had in mind when they purchased that property. They bought it for a reason. The reasons are still there. Yes, right now the economy's in a bit of a downturn. We all know that. But I think that sometimes that's when you can have your biggest growth, because you can cut costs that way. Things aren't going to be as much because the economy's in a downturn. Commodities don't cost as much. You can take advantage of that and bring this to their attention that, one, you still have property here, you had a dream, we still have that dream, and two, now's the time to build, because if you wait until everything is booming again to build, well, then all of your costs are going to go up. So start with those two, and like Arlen said, in 5-10 years, there's no reason why that can't be full over there.
Thanks, James. The West End Industrial Park is where Barron, where Joe Courtley has his shop, where the sea cleaning plant is. George Kiwi, I think, was mayor when was mayor, or just after he was mayor, that I made the motion on town council to buy that property, that 120 acres or whatever that was existing over there. That was farmland that was in the MD. It was not in the town high prairie. Therefore, we needed permission from the MD to actually buy that property. That's the way the law works. We were turned down. The MD didn't like us buying that property. There was an election, there was a new government in MD, and I came back to council and made the motion again, and we were successful in buying it. The MD said, go ahead. Now, I wouldn't have put the seed cleaning plant where it is, and I wouldn't have put Joe Courtley where he is. But the fact is that that is still valuable property. It isn't serviced farther back in there, and we've sold property there, and I don't know where the money has gone for that, whether it's gone into reserves or we just spent it, whatever. But if you go to a town like Whitecourt, Sylvan Lake are two that anybody could be familiar with, and see where Walmart is located in those communities. And Sylvan Lake is now surrounded, the Walmart there is surrounded by other businesses. Originally it was in the back of an industrial park, tucked away. There was nobody there. There was probably 3 blocks of empty space before that single Walmart there in Sylvan Lake. Whitecourt is the same way, and now they've got a little cluster growing there. That far corner is perfect for Walmart. Something about Joe Courtley's property, even though I wouldn't have built that exactly like that. Joe made a good investment as far as I'm concerned. Even today, I said to one of our councillors here that Joe should have a tax incentive on that property. Stop building. Some of this empty space there, stop building on it. Because we have a policy, the town has policies that encourage people to build, overbuild, and if the space is unused, they don't get taxed on it. So that was a policy, by the way, that I brought in, and we have several businesses in town that Daryl Suchuk has built, that he got tax relief on that. And I think that that's something there anyway, something to work on. Okay, so I got a flag. I could say a lot more.
Okay, this shouldn't be too difficult for anybody. Are you available for day meetings for both the council or any board that you'd be required to serve on? Go ahead.
Is this on?
Now it's on.
For some reason, I don't think it's as
It's
loud
red.
as I am.
It's on.
Okay.
It's on.
Yeah, I think day meetings are great. I know that this precludes some people from working. They got jobs, but that's one of the things that comes with the territory. You have to be prepared to travel out of town. You have to be prepared to take weekends, and look after the community. So whether the majority, if the majority wants a day meeting, I'm in favor of it. If they want night meetings, I'm fine. Doesn't matter to me.
Well, personally, I like day meetings. Early morning breakfast meetings, things like that are really good. I will admit, as you know, since I am a minister, Sunday morning is a definite out. But I have found, even when I worked at places like Safeway, that if you told them ahead of time that was a non-negotiable one, most people were understood and they changed it and everything was good. Because it's not the length of the meeting, it's what you get done during the meeting.
Yes, very flexible. We not a problem.
Day meetings would be a challenge for me, I'm not gonna lie. They would be a challenge for me to attend, given the nature of my job. I could probably be somewhat flexible, but I think that, and Jeff mentioned it, if you have a meeting during the day, you do exclude a great deal of people from ever being able to run from council. And I'm not really a fan of that. I think that everybody should have the chance. So having the opportunity for more people to run, I think is what we need. And saying that we're gonna have it during the day when people don't necessarily have that freedom from their employment or from childcare. Yeah.
Is there anybody that has a card? I'll come and pick it up.
Anybody have any question, guys?
I'm gonna read this one here first.
Okay.
What steps are you going to take to try and bring new business to town and fill some of these empty buildings?
Well, bringing new businesses to town, and it's been said over and over, some sort of incentive to bring the new business in. Talk to the companies and corporations and local governments that have property within our boundaries that have not yet developed them, to find out what needs to be done to bring them in. Fill in the empty buildings. Well, you need to start with the owners of the buildings to find out, one, what was necessarily in there before, why did your tenant leave, and going from there. And like Arlen said, and I think we've all said it and agree with it, some sort of incentive to bring a new business in to fill. You're right, there's some empty buildings in town.
Mainly to be in touch with the public, the town peoples themselves, see what the needs are. If there's individual needs that we need. I'm all for competition. Competition's healthy. So if there's a need out there, I'm always open. I'm open to talk to. So if there is a need, a business need in town, we can, you know, we can discuss it. We can, you know, figure out who has that service, and we can approach them to come and join our community, or expand from where they're at, or find somebody in our community that's willing to put up the coin to try a new business, right? So, I mean, there's lots of different steps, but main thing is our need. What do we need? What do we need here? We need services. We need people, right? So we have people. So if we have a service we need, then we can research that.
The first thing I would probably do is find out what our major strengths are to offer to new businesses. For example, what are all the programs at Northern Lakes? What do they offer? Talking to the employment agencies and government agencies that deal with those people looking for jobs. What strengths do we have? What do we have to offer to these companies? And then, as I said, something like a Loblaws, for example, if they do have property here, I had heard, and I'm not sure if it's fully there, that part of it was developmental fees. I would probably be talking to them, finding out if through a guarantee, they will guarantee a certain number of jobs and years here in order to, we'll say, either partially absorb the developmental fees or find a way to lower the fees, putting a longer schedule for them so that it's very attractive for them to come here. And so there's a number of different things there. But I would also, if you want to fill these businesses, I think the first place you also have to start is two other places. One, if you want to have this place grow, you need something for small families, young families. So you need to really focus on bringing the young families who are going to then invest in, I'm already getting the green flag here. Okay, and the other, of course, is faith is a big thing, and our website is way out of date. It doesn't have the Roman Catholic Church, doesn't have the Anglican Church, it doesn't have a lot of places, and people look for faith when they want to relocate in the community. So I'd work on that stuff.
This is a complicated issue. It's easy enough to say High Prairie needs another 3 restaurants. But, right, of course, we don't have McDonald's. We need a Swiss Chalet. Sure, absolutely. There's a couple of interesting things just off the top of my head. But like I said, this is a complicated issue. I don't like going out and bringing in competition for people against people who have based their entire lives and their businesses and invested in this community and have done the best they can. Snapping your fingers and say, hey, we're going to have another restaurant in town. Here's $100,000. Wow, isn't that something? For somebody, the 23 restaurants in town here, the eating establishments that are struggling, I don't think that that's fair. There's other businesses that are in the same position. At the same time, local investors often won't put up their money. They won't put up money to invest in their community. They're afraid to. They don't have confidence in their community. The fact is that High Prairie is 2,500 people in a trading area of 12,000 people. We punch above our weight. There is no reason why we can't have the McDonald's and the No Frills and the Loblaws. There's no reason why. But people who are making the decisions, all they see is a map and it says 2,500. That's all they see. We have to make the effort to convince them that they can be successful here.
Go ahead. You got 30 seconds
I've got
to
more
go.
time.
You got 30 seconds to go.
Anyway.
Unless you're done.
I don't want us to get started on this and not being able to finish it. It's, the retail industry, retailing as a whole, is having trouble everywhere. And that's how we look at our community. We say, hey, there's no place to shop. Well, that's one of the problems is that people with high
done now,
prices. See, I told you. But we can do better. We can do better by promoting our community, by having faith in our local stores, by working at it, and working at it intelligently, confidently, because we have a lot to offer in this town. There's no question at all.
Any questions, anybody? You have some? Oh. Thank you. Anybody in that section? No?
Well, am I breathing too hard?
The wood is burning.
Guys, when I put the green flag up, that's when you have 30 seconds to go yet. This one, you're done.
So it's like soccer then.
Yes.
You can do it just like you did it. They remember.
It was done to me before, so.
That's not very good, Gary.
It was done to us before.
I'm colorblind.
Yeah, well.
I like the flag.
Okay. Do you feel the town should be in the business of land development and rental, or should they leave that entirely up to the public sector?
I'll take that. Absolutely, the town has to be. The reason for this is that investors, and I'm a member of an investment group, and the reason for that is that there are so many good places, used to be so many good places, even in Alberta, to put your money. Coming in, and why would you spend $1 million investing in High Prairie unless you were a very small operator? You're further to spend $500,000 or $1 million or $5 million in Edmonton or Calgary, where you're practically guaranteed that you'll make your money back. Where our community, you're not guaranteed that at all. It can take years to see a return. And we have examples of that in the northwest corner of town. And we have those duplexes or fourplexes over here that were built by a Grand Prairie developer, and I think he still owns those. And he was convinced, both of those guys were convinced, to invest in our community because they thought it was a good deal. And that property is still empty up there. So I think our community, we have to be involved in it. And it works. It actually works because that west end over there is developing slowly. There's more that has to be done there. And Peavine, and I think your real estate agents can talk to you about that. They've had inquiries after inquiries over the decade or longer, that property has been available. But getting somebody to come in now is, I think, almost impossible.
I think with the right management, it's probably good for the town to actually own the land and lease it out, even on the basis of having tangible assets that will appreciate. I'm not sure that the land, as we go along in years, will actually depreciate. I think it's going to appreciate because of just what we have. So I would probably, I like the idea of sort of like what you have the golf course, where the town owns the golf course land and the building and the management of the person who owns the golf course. They have certain requirements. So if the contracts are done right, I'd say it's really beneficial for the government or for the town to own the land.
No, I don't think they should. I don't think we should own land. I think we should own the services under it. The services up to the edging of the property. Supply that services to new companies that are coming in and going to buy the land. If we own the land already, that we sell to, as an incentive to bring those companies in. But I think as far as land ownership, my immediate feeling is no. I don't think we should. I don't know if that's enough information, but that's my feeling.
You mean the town should not be a developer?
No.
That's what you mean.
I'm meaning that, yeah. No, well, there's developers out there that can develop the land. Initially, ownership of the land is fine. Like I say, all the services coming up to it, to the curbside to start the business off is the town's, of course. and that can be even put there as an incentive to bring new businesses to open property.
The property that the town currently owns that is undeveloped, I think that's needs to be, the town needs to concentrate on getting rid of that property and developing that, or finding a developer that will develop it. As far as pursuing new property to build, no, I don't think that we should be pursuing new property. There's enough out there already. And if the town has the property that they currently has, if the town develops the property that they currently have, who better to champion your town than the town itself, to extol the virtues and the great things that can be done here. So, you know, develop what we have, and then that will spur on more development.
How do you see us enhancing our recreational services?
We're fortunate in our community to have the recreational services that we do have. Like I said before, the pool, world-class, second to none in Northern Alberta. And our 2 ice services, we've got the Performing Arts Center. I think what we really need to do is a better job of communication as to exactly what we have for our recreation in our town. There's lots of people that aren't aware that we have these world-class facilities. So enhance it that way, the communication, as well as our library and museum and walking trails and such. That's how I think we can enhance the recreation facilities, is with better communication as to what we actually have.
How do you see us enhancing our recreational services?
Services, I guess, as far as public service, one of the things that are on top of my mind right now is our Gordon Buchanan Center, our arenas, the 2 ice surfaces. I see a utilization issue there, and I'm a hockey guy. Don't get me wrong, I love hockey, and I think ice is valuable for the kids, but I also see that as a facility that's not being fully utilized. I think we can offer more service by maybe looking and asking of the public if they would like an indoor facility, as far as like an indoor soccer. We could have ice on one side and an indoor soccer, or an indoor gymnasium on the other side for youth and adult. And that makes it a utilization year-round instead of just 4 or 5 months of the year. As well as the walking trails. I love the walking trails. I know it doesn't look like I use it, but I do. We ride our bikes on there, and you know what? It's one of those things. It was a great idea. It's a great facility, but it's something that apparently we're struggling to maintain due to root growth and stuff through it. And it's one of those things that in the wintertime isn't being cleared as well as it should, if at all. And I know there's a lot of people complaining that they would use it in the wintertime if it was clear. So there's a few things to look at there. So thank you.
It's interesting you say that, because for the walking trails, a lot of people use our church parking lot to stop. They park there and then they take their dogs for the walk. But one of the ladies, actually a couple of ladies that I was talking to at the school today with young children, they actually gave an amazing suggestion. They said we need to look at and evaluate places like the Aquatic Center. They believe that with the kind of winter we have, that seems to last 12 and a half months a year, that we could possibly renovate part of it and put in a party room. How many young families that want to have parties for their children have to leave High Prairie to do that? How many places across Canada have a party room along with the swimming pool area? A lot. so that that actually becomes part of the birthday party, which brings more revenue into the swimming pool area. You don't really need that many more people to supervise it, and you can even, as you were talking about, combine it to even a little recreation area, which the government, in some of their incentives, might put some money in to help renovate it, because of the because we'd have a plan in place for it. So we would actually enhance an already existing one that would give more incentive to bring in, especially doctors with small children. I've heard a number of the new doctors talk about what they're, what's in it for their children. So there's been a number of different things, and that's just one example. We used the theater to do the police appreciation night and the emergency appreciation night, and it was a really good theater that I think is very underused. If it's strictly used just for dance, it needs to be used a lot more. It was a very, very good facility for that award. And I'm finished.
The Aquatic Center does have a party room, but Smitty's used to have a big banquet room that was used quite a bit also because the party room at the Aquatic Center was not big enough. So it's kind of a six of one, half dozen of the other type of thing. Our recreation facilities cost a lot of money to operate, and I think our deficit is, Brian, you might know, or Mayor Cox might know, Debbie, $650,000, something like that, is the town's share. That's a fair amount of money. We had a really good person, a recreation director, Paula Cowell, who was extremely aggressive at programming, and I think that has kind of fell by the wayside since Paula, is working over at Monaghan now. We tend to do things here in High Prairie sometimes, maybe not as well as what we could, and sometimes people's toes get stepped on when somebody is really trying hard and knows their job, and it's too bad that Paula was gone. We really need better programming in our community, and one of the things that's involved with programming is we have to get away from the idea that we're on holidays, we're a government employee, we're a civil servant, so we're not going to be open on a weekend or a holiday or whatever. People come from Valley View and Falher and McLennan to use our swimming pool. We see them in the restaurant all the time, and they get pretty cheesed off when the place isn't open. They still come to our restaurant, but we notice that they're not there when the place is closed. We're in the hospitality business with these facilities, and we should treat them like that, and that means hard work. Okay.
Just to spice things up, we'll start with you on this one. What is your plan for the old hospital?
Hospital. Again, I see utilization. The end result, who's going to own it? Is it the town? Is it, the Alberta Health Services? Who owns it after everything's said and done and moved to the new hospital? Then we'll decide. There's multiple uses. I like the idea of the college taking it over. Absolutely, nothing better than to have a training center for all kinds of nursing right to industrial. It's a great building facility. I've heard that it's got some issues though as far as structural mold, different things, which I don't know. This is all hearsay. So once it's got a clean bill of health that it's a good building, then we can go forward with it. If it's not, then you have to make the changes as far as demolition, land use. Then you can look at putting it up for sale to a developer. Same idea. I don't think the town should own that, but they can make it presentable to somebody that has an idea they can use it. And but there's a lot of questions there. Who's going to own it after the hospital moves out? Go ahead.
Well, I think basically the suggestion I'd made at the beginning of our time here, if AHS would get on board with this, or even maybe a private contractor, to change that or redevelop that into that seniors home. It's close to the hospital. Everyone knows where it is. It's one of those properties where, from what I've listened to the people in town, we have very good facilities right now, and no offense to any plans they have right now, but I think it would be the perfect place to have either that or the land closer to the hospital. But if you can get this one cheaper, it'd be perfect for that extra business, that seniors home that would employ a lot of people.
My understanding is that a lot of that structure is impacted with asbestos. And I've asked the mayor if she could actually find out, is that the entire building, is none of it, absolutely none of it, salvageable? Because I think that there should be plans. Now, in the long run, it's going to be the voters that are going to decide what's going to be done with that site. I do not agree with the idea that that's highway property, that is prime commercial. We've got downtown property that's commercial. We've got property eventually over there and beside the police station, possible Loblaws, that again is going to be commercial. We don't need more commercial property, but residential property, perhaps more senior condos, perhaps apartments, even a park, because we took away our community park here when we built the Gordon Buchanan and now the skateboard. We had a very well used park right out here, out back here, over the fire hall, and that's gone now. So green area in a community is really important. There's lots of things that can be done, and they have to be investigated. The pros and cons of all of them have to be looked at, but eventually it's going to be the voters who are going to decide what's going to be done with that. It isn't going to be somebody, one of us or one of the president council that's going to come up with a bright idea and say this is what should be done, and all of a sudden the town throws a bunch of money into something that's really kind of ridiculous. Right now we don't even know what parts of that building are salvageable, and if they are or are not salvageable, how much the province of Alberta will pay to bring that back into shape, to decontaminate it. That's something that's coming down the line, and it has to be looked at.
You took all my best lines. The ongoing maintenance of that building could be a possible nightmare. As Jeff had said, the asbestos problem that is quite probably in there, how much of it would be salvageable, who would be responsible for the demolition of the building. I know that if you have an asbestos contaminated building, that the demolition of it becomes quite costly, because basically you wrap it in a cocoon and you got guys in spacesuits going in there tearing it apart, and that's not cheap. That's not even close to cheap. And as a taxpayer in High Prairie, I wouldn't want to be on the hook for that. That's something that the province is going to have to deal with if the building itself has to come down. If the building comes down, a green space is a great idea, or an apartment building in there. The other thing that needs to be looked at as well, though, is that the Deep Creek Ravine that runs behind when you first go into the hospital and then out the other back, that goes right through that whole parking lot. So how much can you build in that area as far as a structure? The hospital itself isn't overly tall. I don't know what the weight on the ground would be for that, but I know that the more you go up, the more pressure it puts down. And if you're already on unstable ground, maybe ultimately a park is the best idea for that area. But we'll leave that up to the province, because right now they own it.
High Prairie needs another home for seniors between the lodge and JB Wood. What is your idea? We all will be seniors. Let's start with you.
Actually, when I've been talking about this, one thing I haven't said is I like the way that Jeff has talked about the number of people we have in our community, like full around access community. And if the baby boomers, which are aging right now, tend to continue to live as long as they do, and we're asking them to do that, there's no reason why we can't also be a center, a health center for a lot of these people. And as I said, get the spin-off industries that will then help our community to grow. And you get these ones, then others that are sitting on the fence will say, hey, this is a growing community and we want to join it as well. So that's one of the reasons I felt that we really do need another seniors long term, or whatever the province and AHS and other shareholders are going to help us work into, that's going to be mutually beneficial for all of us, as opposed to costing town people lots of money. I'd rather build business than to raise taxes personally.
When I was on town council before, I sat on the board for several terms as the town representative on Heart River Foundation. I think it's a very well run organization. There is a problem though, and that's with provincial funding, and the people that are in hospital beds should be in the JB Wood nursing home, and people that are in JB Wood, there's too many. There's people in Pleasant View Lodge that should be in JB Wood, but there's not enough beds for them there. I kind of got that backwards. People in JB Wood are in the hospital, and they shouldn't be in there. We really do need a facility there, and it's the JB Wood nursing home. And the new hospital hopefully will accommodate that to a great extent. The Pleasant View Lodge itself is comprised of Heart River Foundation, which is Falher, McLennan, Valley View, Peace River, High Prairie. And one thing that has happened, and this happened when I was on council, is that the province came out with a whole pile of money and said, hey, let's build senior apartments, senior complexes, let's build all kinds of them. And Pat Billings was the person in charge of Heart River, and she said, this is just going to be an excuse, for one thing, to help out some of the government friends, and secondly, it's going to cost us a lot of money because they're going to yank the funding, the operating money. And they did. And Peace River now has a nice building up there that some developers made a lot of money with, and the funding is disappearing. So we have to be very careful. We want to look after our citizens. We want to look after our citizens, but we want to be fair with everybody else in the province too. We don't want to see favorites played here and played there and wherever. And it's something that really, as a consular, we have to be very aware of, and we have to pay attention.
Taking care of our seniors is, of course, we all want to take care of the seniors. I think, but it needs to start with the provincial government. They can't do the trickle-down thing where, like Jeff said, they're going to give us this funding originally, this gets built, all of a sudden, now they take the funding away, and, well, how do you pay for it? Start with the provincial government and try and keep our seniors in their own homes for as long as possible. There's nothing wrong with staying at home until, well, the lady from Canuso, she was over 100, living on her own still. Now, she had some help, obviously, from friends and family, but the government needs to step in and keep our seniors, keep our parents, our grandparents in their own home for as long as possible, so the facilities that we do have funding for, do not become overburdened. and so that they can be comfortable right to the end. So this is something that we need to work very closely with and make sure that the government knows that we're paying attention to what they're doing.
Probably one of the most volatile subjects, really, because like you say, we're all going to go through it, some quicker than others. Like Jeff said, it's full. You know, that's something we can maybe go back to the provincial government, see if they can table discussion to change and to expand funding. Whether that's possible or not, we can look into that. I think Heart River does do a great job. I know some people there, and they look at maybe somebody coming in and investing in some building so they can expand. That's whether they're open ideas or not. Because I know the lodge is a great facility, but it's something that it's an ongoing problem, and it won't go away, because like I say, we're all gonna be there at one stage or another. So it's and some more than others, but as far as funding, you know, that's it's a tough call, because I know myself, parents, grandparents, you try to do it yourself, you try to fund your own family, but a lot of families and a lot of people can't and don't have that fund, so that's where the government has to come in. But like I say, it's a need, willing to look at all kinds of options and avenues, but it has to be done soon. Thank you.
Tracy, can I just say something about Heart River? Heart River is composed of all these communities, these boards. And about 5 years ago, Ridge Valley, which is way over by DeBolt, well, not way over by DeBolt, but it is part of Grand Prairie County. And Ridge Valley is a Mennonite community, I think, and they ran their own seniors' home. And this is a close-knit, tight community with probably 25 residents in their seniors' home. And some of those families were contributing half of their income, $25,000 to $40,000 a year, to put their parents or their uncles or their aunts in that home. Ridge Valley was going bankrupt, and these people wanted to stay in the community, and the entire community wanted to keep them there. They had some horrendous maintenance costs coming because the province of Alberta passed new rules and said, you have to do this for fire extinguishers, you have to do this for safety exits, and they didn't have the money. Grand Prairie kicked them out. Grand Prairie, the housing foundation over there that looks after seniors' lodges, High Prairie, Heart River came and took that on, because that's what Heart River does. It's not a dollar and cents operation. It's a human operation. And they try to do a very good job, and I think that they have been doing a very good job. And I'm a senior, and I have no problem at all with Heart River, with moving into there one of these days.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that. That's not a speech for myself, that's a speech for Heart River. Okay.
Okay. As a counselor, is there anything you would do to go after businesses and or homeowners to clean up their premises?
Well, currently the town has in place several policies and bylaws to deal with unsightly premises. And I think that they do a pretty good job. I know Alan and Mark, before when he was here, I haven't really met the new girl yet, but they would go around and talk to the homeowners, and I don't think they had a huge problem with people cleaning up. Just talk to them. And then if they don't clean it up, well, then they get the fines. And if they don't clean it up, then the town cleans it up and it goes against their taxes and you get it anyways. So I think the policies that are in place currently are working. If you have a problem with your neighbor's unsightly property, the first step is to talk to your neighbor. If you get along with them, to say, hey, like, can we come to a mutual agreement? And then after that, invoke the policies that are in place already.
Again, like James says, there's policies in place. There, as far as cleanliness, whose level of cleanliness are we looking at? Like, what level are we looking at? Alan's idea, or is there actually a benchmark? As far as helping thy neighbor, I think there can be some of that. As far as areas and places that aren't really manned anymore, as far as open lots and different things, you know what? We're in a time of economic struggle, so I think there should be. It might be worth looking at like a fine option program now, with different things with our town tickets even. Instead of ticketing money, they can ticket fine option. They can come and help mow lawn. You know, there's different ways of looking at beautification, right? I'm all for beautification. I think it's something we got to get back to as far as a community pride thing. So, it's there's lots of options there.
It's interesting, there's a young teenager from High Prairie that went on YouTube, and that was one of the things he talked about. He was asking all his friends and anyone who would go on a YouTube, he said, give me ideas on how to help High Prairie, how to improve it. And he talked about how he'd love to see some of the youth as well get involved in this and take more pride in their community. And if we go back to one of the suggestions I made about volunteer hours, quality volunteer hours, that most universities actually look for over grades now. I think that would be a wonderful way of encouraging them, with the permission of the landowner as well, to have a couple of those days where they do a community cleanup. And I also applaud the town on their hazardous waste day. I really appreciated that. We got rid of some of our stuff, so we weren't as unsightly. But maybe we should call it Pack Rat Day, the day you get rid of all that stuff out of the back of your area. But something like that, where it's a specific day, the third Saturday of June or whatever. We have this every year, and then we also encourage the young people that they can get quality volunteer hours to put on the resumes and work experience by helping be involved in making the community better.
Well, this has been an issue on council for 40 years. And the fact that somebody's still asking questions about it, it hasn't been resolved. I remember a open foundation with some boards over top of a basement in Slave Lake that they tried to get shut down for 10 years and couldn't do it because of safety concerns. Edmonton is in the news with the guy, his house, it's the ongoing garage sale. It really boils down to community standards. You can write a fine and you can go and talk to the guy, but all of these communities have issues. Every community does. And trying to convince a judge, that you've got a real case against somebody that's throwing garbage around in their yard and he should improve it, that person, that property owner, his best defense will be, well, what about the rest of the community? Are there other people like that? And if those guys aren't cleaning up, then the fine doesn't mean anything. So it's really a matter of everybody pulling up their socks a little bit at a time and cleaning up. But I'll tell you, everybody, every community, every city has the same problem. And I don't know if anybody has had any successful result in doing something about it other than raising the awareness with everybody and everybody trying to make their community better. Eventually, maybe somebody will get the message. I got 30 seconds. I'll tell you a story. In McLennan, there was a town there. There was people there, a family that their backyard was piling up with garbage, bags and bags and bags and bags of garbage. And one of the town councilors said, so what is the matter with this? We've got this wonderful garbage bag program. All they got to do is go down and spend $1 and the garbage will be picked up because McLennan doesn't have any garbage service. You got to pay for it. And I said to the guy, well, maybe they don't have any money to buy your garbage ticket, whatever. Well, isn't that amazing? You'd never thought of that, but that was the problem. Okay.
Okay, well, that's it for the questions. I'm going to wrap this up because it's getting late. I don't think anybody will kick us out right away if you want to do some mingling. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being here.
Thanks to the candidates. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you for your questions. Sorry I interrupted your talking.